The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Hope everybody's morning is off to a good start. I bet that's the case for our guy Finch as he celebrates his birthday. So shout out to you, my friend, by the way. I woke up feeling pretty good. Pretty good. Just 2 more sleeps until we can wake up and watch a little college football. I need it, man. I need that in my life. I got to say, I'm a basketball guy, but I'm ready for just some college athletics in general. Bring on football season, baby. You know, like on a normal day, I would not really care too much at all about the Big 12 on the gridiron, but I can tell you right now that I will be dialed all the way in on Kansas State versus Iowa State in Dublin, and I will be financially invested in that game. Don't tell my wife. Anybody interested in Dan Mullen's debut with UNLV? That happens in week 0. Little Sam Houston State versus Western Kentucky action. Sure. You know, hey, nothing better than someone taking a week 0 trip out to Hawaii to get picked off by the rainbows out there. Looking at you, Andrew Luck and Stanford. Good stuff going on. I'm excited. Nice little appetizer before the real season gets here next week. And then that will carry us on to the main course. College basketball that's going to be here before you know it. We're getting closer and closer by the day, folks. Fun show lined up today. We're going to introduce some new members of the Razorback family. Now that the U of A has done some updates to the support staff page on the website there, we're going to handicap the race for 2026 Razorback target Abdou Toure, who cut his list down earlier on Wednesday. We're going to talk early SEC Freshman of the Year race as well, expanding the college basketball season. We might dive into that some. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to get to. So let's hop right in. Hey, today's episode is presented by our friends over at Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas. Have you made Labor Day plans yet? I wonder if you haven't, how does a day on the lake sound to you? If you don't have a boat, whatever, no big deal, no problem. Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas has you covered. They give you access to the boats without the commitment. This is boating that's frankly fun, flexible, stress-free. It fits the lifestyle. There's 3 locations in Arkansas. Lake time's closer than you think. Greers Ferry Lake, Lake Hamilton, a day out on the river in Little Rock. Some more destinations to be determined here in the near future. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Be on the lookout for that. But Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas will help you make your summer in the natural state the best one yet. So hit them up. In fact, all you got to do is text the words Inside Arkansas to 501-270-6477 to get 50% off your initiation fee. Don't have to say too much else about that besides it's a good deal. Check out their website, freedomboatclubar.com, for more info today. Okay, so I wanted to lead off the show today just kind of welcoming in some guys who, honestly, by nature of the job, will never get enough credit for what they do for the program. Arkansas updated its support staff page on the U of A website, the athletics website, and it looks like the grad assistants are in place for this season. And I got a lot of respect for graduate assistants, because I've lived that life, much smaller scale, in the NAIA over at Lindenwood Belleville. That's how I got my start in coaching. I was a graduate assistant for 2 years before I got brought on full time. It's a grind, man. You do a lot of work. You don't get a lot of the credit, but it's part of the process. And, for Arkansas here, it's interesting to see the evolution of, like how GAs were utilized under Mike Anderson to Eric Musselman, now to Coach Cal. If you remember, part of Cal's roster building philosophy last year when he got the job at Arkansas was he really wanted to bring in GAs who were young and could still play because he was going to use them in practice. That was part of his justification for, hey, maybe I only bring in, 9 guys for my rotation or whatever, and then I'll kind of fill it out, but I'll have some GAs who are going to help us in practice. So I don't know if like Tamaj Parker Rivera or Ray Surratt knew that meant that they would be able to mix it up every single day with Jonas Adu and Big Z and TB for 6 months. Like, I don't know if that's what they signed up for. That's what they got, though. But hey, both of them are back for year 2, so you love to see it. They got a lot out of that. I think it's pretty cool. I really do. Just like it's important to have some continuity and some retention on the team and your main coaching staff with the assistants, and Arkansas is running it back from that standpoint. We know that they've got the most retention in the SEC. You need to have a couple guys like Tamaj and Ray who know exactly what is expected of them. They understand the drills. They understand how practice works, what they need to do. They're ingrained in the culture. And honestly, the relationships and the trust that they build with the team and the players, low key, it's really, really important for chemistry building overall. Don't underestimate the role that these guys plays. And honestly, like Tamaj, large man. He got mistaken for Jonas Adu on more than one occasion, actually, when we were waiting to see, okay, is Jonas going to come back? Is he healthy? Is he going to play tonight? And we'd be out there in warm-ups and somebody'd be like, oh, is that him? No, it's the GA, who's almost as big as him. But hey, former Division I player. He played with the Puerto Rican national team. Good guy to have around. Ray is like a legit 6'10", and he is literally La Familia. I mean, honestly, he's from Lexington, was a student manager for Cal from 2021 to 2024, follows him to Arkansas, where he's entering his second year as a GA here. I just think that's pretty awesome, man. And then two new additions that have been added so far, Dorian Alui, who was a grad assistant at Florida State last season. Okay, so learned under Leonard Hamilton, worked with Malik Ewan, obviously. So that's cool. And he's been a part of some really, really good programs up in Michigan that I used to coach against and recruit against. He was a GA at Roosevelt in 2023-24, and they had a huge season that year. They were really, really good. He played at Ferris State, where I actually recruited and signed a transfer from. Tyron Wade was his name. Big fella. He was like 6'7", 260 pounds, handled it like a guard, 3-point shooter. He was a fun player, played the 4 for us. I'll never forget recruiting him and that whole process. But it's a guy who was he was a 2-time all-conference player there for a really, really good D2. Played a year of pro ball in Spain, which I'm very jealous of. That's it. If you could pick a place to go play overseas, Spain would probably be it. I mean, it's legit. And then most recently, Xavier Pena, who the Discord thought was an addition to the actual team a couple days ago. But Xavier spent the last 2 seasons at Florida Gulf Coast, so I'll have to check with him on his Dunk City resume and see if he's living up to the name there. But he's a guy who started his career at Navarro Junior College, has the third most 3-pointers in a single season over there, shot at 39% from 3. Is he the best shooter in the building over at the practice facility? People are talking. I don't know. Originally from New Jersey there. So, I look at these guys, and of course, I think great opportunity for them. Glad they're here to help the team. Let's show them some love, because they are going to be a huge part of the glue that binds this team together behind the scenes throughout the course of the year. Also, I just got to be honest. The pressure is on, boys, because you came up short of defending your title in the manager games last year. It's time to reclaim the throne. We will be paying attention to that. We covered the manager games here in the Pod at the Palace. Get it done. Will John Calipari be adding a ringer in John Wall to this mix? People are talking. No, he's not. Officially announced his retirement. Absolute legend. 5-time All-Star. One of the best to ever do it for Coach Cal. Very clearly going to stay involved in the game. In fact, he's going to be an NBA analyst. Saw that released earlier today, which is great. That's awesome. This is kind of like when we were all convinced that Joe Johnson was going to join the staff, except minus there's a little bit more buzz for that. But what I hope that this means for John Wall is that he has enough time now to come down and spend some time in Fayetteville, kick it with Coach Cal, kick it with the fellas, the team. That would be pretty cool, I think, for these youngsters, don't you? I'd be all for it. So welcome those guys, the new additions to the coaching staff there for the Razorbacks, and in advance of what should be a really, really fun year here in Fayetteville. Hey, today's episode of the Pod at the Palace, you know the drill, presented by our friends over at Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. You hear the name and you think, bro, we're really talking about Christmas lights. It's August. Well, they do more than just that. We're getting closer and closer to the holiday season. That includes Halloween. It's right around the corner. Many of you love the idea of getting in the holiday spirit. You're feeling it. You love it, but you don't have time with your schedules, with work, with kids, family, responsibilities, or maybe you don't have the resources to light up your entire house and wow the neighborhood like you'd like to. Well, luckily for you, Walter Christmas Lighting has you covered this entire fall and winter. If you're in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, have Walter Christmas Lighting install and set up your house with professional Halloween and Christmas lighting like you've never seen before. They really do make it easy on you. All the materials are provided, any color, any pattern that you might want. They come out and install the lights. They give you free maintenance throughout the holiday season with the takedowns all happening in January. And if you sign up for their Halloween lights, you'll get your Christmas lights for 50% off. That's a pretty good deal. Just text our guy Brett for a free estimate today at 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com. Like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code there in the bottom middle of your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. All right. What to get into next? Let's see here. I tell you what, we have a recruitment update to talk about. His class of 2026 4-star wing Abdou Toure trimmed his list down to 7 finalists, and I think that we can trim it down a little bit more than that. So let's do that here today. Toure, we've talked about him quite a bit here on the show, but for those who might be tuning in for the first time, whatever, here's the skinny. He's not skinny. Here's the lowdown. The number 26 overall prospect in his class, according to the industry average of all the places that do their recruiting rankings, 6'5", 6'6"-ish, 185, 190 in the weight. Explosive above the rim finisher, and I do not use that term lightly. His bounce is crazy. Like, this dude can fly. He catches some lobs that are just wild levels of high difficulty. Really a fun watch. And the rest of his game, I mean, he's a superb athlete, but he's developing the rest of his game. I think that his off the bounce work is quite improved. I think his floor game is improving. His feel, I think, has come a long way. Really getting comfortable getting into his mid range. He's good. He is a good player, and his best basketball is ahead of him, which is interesting to say because he averaged 25 and 6 as a junior last year and was the Gatorade Connecticut Player of the Year. And he's also the back-to-back 2-time Max Preps Connecticut Player of the Year. So this young man can go. And then he went out on the Adidas 3SSB, and he averaged 15 and 5. So backed it up, his high school season with a really strong grassroots season. Good player. His final 7 on the list cut are Arkansas, Providence, Florida State, Louisville, UConn, Oregon, and Maryland. Okay. I'm going to say 4 things about Arkansas here. 1, Abdou has already visited once unofficially. That happened last October. 2, he will be visiting again officially soon. Finalizing those dates now, but it is happening, and it's going to happen soon. 3, there were 3 guys this summer that I know for sure that Arkansas had at least some level of interest in as potential reclass candidates. Like dudes that would have reclassed into the same class with Darius, Acuff, and Malik Thomas, been on the team this year. One was Tyron Stokes. Obviously, you guys remember that. Had he have reclassed, Arkansas would have been all over it. Another was Mika Murnin. Yeah, we heard about that throughout the course of the spring and summer. Wound up not happening. Okay, Abdou Toure was the 3rd. And it didn't happen, obviously. And I don't know that it never necessarily generated a ton of steam, but it was a conversation. And it was discussed, and I think that tells you what Cal thinks about Abdou as a player. If he didn't think he could play, if he didn't think he could help, didn't think he could provide something, that would never be a thought to come to college a year early. So that's telling to me. And the 4th thing here, because of all those reasons, I believe that Arkansas is your leader in this recruitment as of right now. We know everything it's fluid, it can change, whatever, but as of today, I would have Arkansas in the lead for Abdou. Well, what about UConn? The home state school, it's a finalist. He's taken an official up there as well. And I mentioned this probably more than a week ago, but a source that I have that's plugged into Abdou's recruitment has told me that UConn is just not prioritizing him currently, and that they haven't been super active in his recruitment recently. And that can certainly change because they had been involved for a while, but it seems like they might be going more fully in on some other guys. So there's that. I actually think that Arkansas's primary competition right now is another Big East school in Providence. Kim English and that staff are close to home. I'm not sure what their rev share situation looks like in the Big East relative to like UConn or St. John's. They're probably not on the same wavelength as those guys. I know we've talked about the rev share situation with the Big East. They don't have football, so can they give $20 million to basketball? Well, in theory, yes, but they're also not generating the revenue from football. So a lot of these Big East schools don't have the same amount of revenue coming in to where they could meet that full allotment. So if they had it, they could, but I don't think a school like Providence necessarily has that much. So I do feel like if Arkansas goes full court press here, that they can close on this one. This is one I feel like they can get. The other schools, I do expect him to visit Oregon. Oregon's been out on him for a while. I think he'll probably visit Louisville, which could be interesting with the Adidas angle, but Louisville's they're more heavy in with, Tyron Stokes, Tay Kenny, and guys like that. So I do think, who else is on there? Maryland, I'm not so sure about that one. Florida State, I just listen. They're pretty openly without money over there. Like the vast majority of their rev share is going to football, and the coach is responsible for raising his own NIL. Like it's a tough situation over there. If it comes down to Arkansas or Louisville or whoever else in this race wants him, they're going to be able to outbid. That's just kind of the way that it is. So I do think the visit schedule will be worth monitoring. But as of today, I do have Arkansas in the strongest position for Abdou Toure. Good player. Hope they get it. He would be, we talk about Billy Richmond and his explosiveness and everything like that. And in a way, Abdou reminds me of Billy, but there's just something about his hang time that he has is a little bit different. He's a freakish dunker. I should have pulled a highlight clip of some of his dunks. I'm mad at myself for not doing that. In fact, I'll probably do it tomorrow just that way you guys can see what I'm talking about. He's really impressive to watch. Okay. Moving on to the final segment here at Pot the Palace today. Since we start off talking about new additions to the coaching staff, let's just take a couple minutes and focus on the new additions to college basketball, shall we? What I want to do is handicap the SEC Freshman of the Year race, because this feels like a season where a Razorback probably should be the odds-on favorite to win it. I think so, at least. And I would imagine most projections out there are going to have either Arkansas's Darius Acuff or Tennessee's Nate Ament as the guys. And I think that's fair. They're the two who are, I think, both set to start. They're both expected to be leaned on as key, perhaps primary contributors on their team. So, I got to be honest. I think that Acuff is more equipped and ready to be that guy as a freshman than Nate Ament is. Now, on the flip side, I think Nate Ament probably winds up being the better pro of the two. And I say that because of the intangibles. I mean, he's 6'10". He's still growing into his body. He can dribble, pass, and shoot. There's a lot that you like there. Acuff is, I think, further along right now, but he's got the limitations with his size. He's jacked, don't get me wrong, but he's 6'2" or whatever. Maybe he hits a little bit more of a growth spurt, but I just think the potential there for Nate Ament to eventually one day be an NBA All-Star, it's very much there. To me, Acuff is more of the finished product and has the production that's there, whereas Nate Ament is kind of the guy who has the projectables. And we've talked about that with recruiting, like the difference between JJ Andrews and Christian Collins, for example. JJ's out there dominating guys, and it's impressive what he's doing. He's got the college-ready body, and why the hell aren't they ranking him higher? And then you see a guy like Christian Collins who really struggles in Peach Jam, and you can tell he's really trying to put it all together. So you're thinking, well, why are they so high on him? But you look at him, and you see 6'9", the length, the athleticism, and it's like, and if this guy puts it all together, then you really have something there. So in a way, it kind of reminds me of that. Let's see. Other contenders, interestingly enough, outside of Acuff and Ament, Malik Thomas is the next highest ranked incoming freshman in the SEC. So there's that. And it's interesting to me because I do get the sense that maybe you guys feel this too, maybe you don't. Is Malik Thomas being slept on a little bit? Because he's very, very talented, and he's one of the most gifted offensive creators and scorers in his class, amongst freshmen in the country too. I almost think that some of it is you just kind of think, okay, by default, Darius Acuff is going to start. Your highest ranked guy, McDonald's All-American. He's got all the accolades, sure. And then I think just because of the presence of DJ Wagner and knowing the relationship with Cal, and hell, beyond that, DJ's been a double-digit scorer in this league for 2 years. and he's a veteran and he's a leader. So you automatically assume that, okay, that's probably going to be your starting backcourt. But just because you project Malik Thomas to come off the bench doesn't mean he can't be super impactful. I think he's going to be your best shooter, with volume. I think he's going to be a microwave type of scorer off the bench. And if he embodies all these things about getting comfortable, being uncomfortable that John Calipari's challenging with by way of, maximizing your dribbles and, being a little bit more efficient with your shots and all that, he's a guy who could really, really pop and score in bunches for Arkansas this year. So I doubt him or sleep on him or undervalue him at your own peril. I do think Malik Thomas is going to be very good for Arkansas. But it's interesting because outside of that, like CJ Ingram, for example, at Florida is the only other top 20 guy. And this is a dual sport type of dude. And I think it could be interesting with him because depending on how well it works with Alex Condon and Tommy Howe playing the 3-4, like they're probably going to try to play the three bigs. I don't know about that one. They may need to bring one of them off the bench. And if they do, they're going to need to start another wing alongside Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan, whether it be, the transfer that they brought in. Where was he from? Akron or Ohio? I can't remember where they got him from. Maybe the Clovesar kid who played a little bit for him last year when they had some injuries, or it could be a guy like Ingram. So I still think he's kind of a long shot. I look at the Kentucky guys. Like I think that Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno in certain situations I think they're both good players, but I think that I don't know that this is an environment that's right for them to win this type of award. If that makes sense. Like, I'm just not sure with all the mouths that Kentucky has to feed there that either of them are going to get the type of run that could get them an SEC Freshman of the Year type of honor. Maybe if they win the league and one of those guys averages double figures or something, that could be a different conversation. But, like maybe Jasper really emerges there for him, but I don't know. Like, what does that mean for someone out of the group of Jalen Lowe and Otega Owe and Denzel Aberdeen? You know what I mean? And they love them some Colin Chandler, and Trent Noah is apparently the best shooter in program history. So if all those guys are going to play, is he going to play enough? Like, where does he wind up falling in line there? Then with Moreno, maybe, especially the path for Malachi Moreno would be if he latches on early before Jaden Quaintance is cleared to get back on the floor. Because I could see him passing Brandon Garrison. I think his ceiling's just higher, frankly. And I'm not sure what to expect from Yelovich, the big Croatian kid that they have coming in. But there's a lot of guys there at Kentucky to where it's kind of hard to project either one of them to really be fully in that mix. A couple wild cards, I think, throughout the course of the rest of the SEC. Nico Bandalo at Ole Miss, a late pickup for them. I like him. They're going to need somebody to provide some firepower outside of AJ Storr. Caden Magwood at Auburn is somebody that I think is going to get quite a bit of run there. So maybe he's a name to keep an eye on. But yeah, I think Darius Acuff should probably be the favorite going into the season for SEC Freshman of the Year. Now, he's got to go in and play and do all the things. You need to be a little bit more efficient as a shooter than he was his senior year of high school, although he was a very, very good shooter from three as a junior there. But, with his power, his strength, his size, I think all that translates over to the SEC pretty early. I saw that that Acuff was listed as a dark horse to crack the top 5 nationally in Isaac Trotter's over at CBS Sports, his top 5 scorers and creators in the country. And that's period. That's not just freshmen. That's everybody. So it was Darren Peterson. Okay. Some people had him number 1 overall. Others had him number 2, but he's going to Kansas. PJ Haggerty. We know all about him, the Memphis transfer at Kansas State. Todd Pettiford, one of the best returning guards in the SEC at Auburn. Boogie Fland. Yeah, enough said. By the way, did you guys see Boogie put out the little YouTube thing? He's put on 13 pounds of muscle. Good for you. Good for you, young man. And then Josh Hubbard at Mississippi State, and we know how he's wired to score over there. And then the dark horse to be amongst that group was Darius Acuff at Arkansas as a true freshman. That's some pretty good company. Don't you think? I think so. I wonder what the assist numbers are going to wind up looking like for Acuff. Because I do think he's going to score. It wouldn't surprise me if Darius Acuff led Arkansas in scoring. I would probably lean Carter Knox as of today. And we had the hot take Tuesday. Like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Malik Ewan was that guy for the Razorbacks. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me if it was DJ. Like, there's a lot of candidates there. We also just did the thing where we said that, hey, maybe Arkansas has 6 double-digit scorers this year. Like, I don't think anyone's going to run away with it and go crazy, but Acuff is a guy who could lead the pack, and he is a guy who could separate himself. He's that much of a talent. I wonder what his assist numbers are going to look like, because they do need either him or DJ to also really embody the I'm going to initiate the offense and get everybody else involved, because we got to make all this go. Because it's one thing to be the best scorer on the team, but if you're in the lead guard role, you got to be able to facilitate and everything. And that's why I was encouraged about some of the stuff that Cal said about him after that practice when we were there that day in his press conference about seeing the full floor. And I remember watching some of the passes he was making, operating in ball screen action. He was getting 2 feet in the paint, and it kind of be a one-hand skip pass to an open shooter in the corner. I'm like, wow, I didn't even see that guy over there. So he's got some vision there. And if he winds up getting 4.5 assists per game for Arkansas to go along with some good scoring there, it's going to be hard to argue. And it's going to be for a really, really good Arkansas team if he's able to put up that kind of numbers. So it's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, I think that'll do. That'll do for today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, tapping in as always. If you're not subscribed to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, I'm going to continue to remind you every day to just click the button. You're here. You're watching us on YouTube. Just click. It's free for you. Doesn't change anything for you, but it helps us a lot, and we would certainly appreciate it. And if you're listening in podcast format, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever, follow the show, throw us a thumbs up, give us a nice review. We would certainly appreciate that as well. And we'll be back tomorrow. You guys know the drill. We ride at dawn, the pot at the palace. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. You guys have a good rest of your day. We'll see you Friday, right before the weekend. Good stuff.